living benefits and the long-term care rider, or riders attached to cash value life insurance policies. So we hear about this, get calls about this all the time, so I want to provide some information. Usually when it comes to adding living benefits, which is really some type of long-term care rider to a cash value life insurance policy, there are two types. We have often what's referred to as a chronic illness rider. This is a free rider. And what this does, this is very nice because it's attached to a policy. I have to be approved for it in most cases, but it doesn't come at an extra cost. I don't have to pay an extra $1,000 or $5,000 a year to obtain this rider. What it does is if I am diagnosed with a chronic illness, which means I am unable to perform 2 out of the 7 daily acts of living, which you can Google that, daily acts of living. If someone's unable to feed themselves, dress themselves, maybe they can't clean themselves because they have an injury or illness, that's when we would qualify to use this rider. And what it permits me to do is to access my death benefit, which is it's always going to be larger than my cash value. So if I have a policy with cash value of 50 grand and a death benefit of 500 grand, if I'm early into the policy, and something happens, I need to go into a nursing home, I need home health care, I qualify for this. What it allows me to do is access my death benefit. It's a percentage of it, depends on my age and the amount of insurance, but it allows me to access it particularly for long-term care costs and needs. That's the purpose of this rider. So this can often be attached to policies with companies that offer it, but it can be attached to policies for free. So that's the first type, which will always attach to a policy if one qualifies for it. The second type is what we always get calls about, which is a pure long-term care rider. So long-term care is typically offered via a separate policy. So I can buy a pure long-term care insurance policy. A long-term care rider is really sold as a means to attach to a life insurance policy that was primarily sold for life insurance. So I have life insurance or death benefit protection, and then I can kind of use this as an upsell, a long-term care rider to attach to the policy. There's advantages and disadvantages to this. Let's start with the disadvantages because this is what always comes up. Our focus, really, as a company, is designing policies for maximum cash value, right? How do I squeeze that insurance expense as low as I can go, 10% premium, 90% cash, early break-even point, all that good stuff. Is when I add a long-term care rider, it strips the policy mainly of flexibility. Where I cannot, I'm going to simplify this as much as I cannot add the same term insurance riders that allow me to 10x my minimum premium contribution. For example, if you take a company like Guardian, where I can 10x my minimum premium. When I say 10x, I can add 10 times my premium in PUAs. If I have this LTC rider attached, I cannot attach the same term rider that allows me to 10x my contribution. I am capped out at 4 times my premium contribution. So I cannot enhance my cash value like I normally would if I have a pure long-term care rider attached. With MassMutual, I can attach a long-term care rider. Same thing though, I can't attach the needed term rider to build in flexibility where I can bounce my contributions up and down and 10x the minimum premium. I won't go any further because I realize that's a little confusing. Main point is it does strip the policy, this long-term care rider, of a lot of flexibility and performance as a result. That's the disadvantage. The advantage is really the benefits found within a long-term care policy, which are as follows. What a long-term care rider does is I can attach, let's say, a $3,000 per month benefit. Meaning, if I am diagnosed with a long-term care illness and I need to go into a home, someone needs to come to my house and help with daily acts of living. I need help. What this policy is going to do is pay me $3,000 a month, and I can customize that benefit. I can make it $1,000, I can make it $6,000 a month. The higher the benefit, the higher the cost, of course. But that's going to pay me a benefit to help cover those costs, partially or fully. That's the major advantage. I can obtain long-term care. Now, what we usually recommend is, again, if cash value is our goal on a life insurance policy, is we want to look at a separate long-term care policy. Goes back to the disadvantage. If I add a long-term care rider, I strip the policy of what? Flexibility. And performance. It is very difficult to obtain the break-evens we mentioned to everyone between years 3 and 6 and have strong IRRs, internal rates of return, when I've got this long-term care rider attached to a policy. Main reason being is, again, it strips the flexibility. I can't get the amount of PUAs into the account that I want, and it's an added cost. Kind of like term insurance or any type of insurance policy where it's rent. If I use it, yeah, I'm glad I had it because I was covered. If I don't use it, it was an added cost that was attached to the policy all the way through, and I paid for something I didn't use. So if death benefit is my concern, meaning I want $1 million for my beneficiaries, that's why I'm going to set this policy up in this manner. That's where the long-term care fits well. That's what it was designed for. If I'm trying to maximize my cash value, have a flexible savings asset, that long-term care rider can be attached, but it's very rare that one will see that and say, okay, I want to go with that, because it always prevents us from really optimizing the cash value in a life insurance policy. Hope this helped.